Some upcoming events that we have. So April 5th, She Talks Data. I don't know, Serena, is there any more you want to plug on that one? I saw
we're having a professional personal stylist come, and like I'm gonna ask her how many different ways I can dress up, like jogger pants and yoga pants and like that kind of thing. So it should be fun.
Awesome. April 21st, we'll be having another Tableau user group here in the Twin Cities. Hopefully we'll have a hybrid for that one. We're not sure. We're kind of still looking into options and locations. And then some of you joined in as we were having a bit of a Tableau conference talk. So that's May 17th and 19th. Mark your calendars if you're planning to go to that. And we may end up with a TC Tug kind of event around one or more of the virtual sessions there. We're still kind of kicking around ideas for that, for those of us who are not traveling to Las Vegas. All right, did I miss anything? It's a chance for you to share. What else are you going to? Events, announcements that you might have? Go ahead and unmute yourself, throw it in the chat, yell at us, whatever.
This is a good time to share if you're looking for a role, or if you're trying to fill a role as well. We take those kinds of shout outs too.
There was, I think it was on the VOTD a few days ago, but Ethan Lang, who works at Playfair Data with Ryan Sleeper, if you guys know him, I know that he got this really fantastic collaborative viz that shows all of the upcoming Tug events and also other various like Tableau oriented events. So let me look that up really quickly and I'll pop that into the chat, because I thought that that would be something that you guys might all want to use and check out. Annabelle Renson and there was a third person, I think, that was involved in building that. So let me quickly throw that up here.
Cool. Thanks, Christina.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. All right. Then we will do a quick get to know a member before I hand it over to Nicole and Christina for their presentation. So again, if this is your first time, nothing, it's a low pressure situation, just a little bit about who you are, what you do, what kind of data you use, introduce yourself to the group. So we get to know each other a little bit. So if I don't have a volunteer, I will just pick somebody from this list of participants. But if you're feeling up to it, go ahead and unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the group.
Or you can raise your hand if you don't.
Or you can raise your hand.
I can go ahead. My name is Sarah Henry. This is the first time that I've joined this group. I'm actually here because I was talking to Paula the other day and she said she was presenting, so I wanted to be here to see what she was presenting. I work for the Minnesota Department of Health. I'm an epidemiologist for our birth defects unit. Pretty new with Tableau. I was using it a little bit before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic was reassigned, so had no opportunity. So I'm kind of relearning everything again. And the data that I've been analyzing with it so far has been our local public health services data. So it's a unique data set that's not really applicable to any other program for the most part, other than our section. So it's been a bit of it's been interesting to play around with it. And we have some MDH Tableau meetings that Derek has been really helpful with and giving me some pointers, taught me a little bit of prep. So I'm just really good, I think, at poking around. Once I do something, I'm good at replicating it if I'm kind of in the motion of doing it, because a lot of the stuff I had to do was basically replicate it 5 times for different items. But I think just getting into the swing of things is really where I'm struggling with, of using it on a consistent basis to not have to go back to different resources or kind of reteach myself certain things, because I'm just not using it enough or frequently enough. So just kind of trying to get on that bike again and see where I could go, but excited to be here. So thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for joining us. All right, we had one more raise their hand. I don't know how I'm going to say this name, but go ahead and introduce yourself. I think Sunil Kumar.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Sunil Kumar Bairam, and I work for a company called Optum, which is United Health Group. I'm into data analytics, and I work mostly with um, medical data like claims and other stuff. And we are trying to we merged from a different company called Orthonet, and right now I am a group of analytical team and data engineering team. So we mostly work with Tableau, and we are right now going to connect to data warehousing and Snowflake's introducing that environment. It's already there in Optum, but as we are merged company, then we got access to those things. Hopefully, I may not get any problems, but surely this is the first time I'm joining the group. So excited to. One of my directors has suggested to connect with this group, so that's why I'm here, and I'm excited to meet you guys.
Awesome. Great to meet you. Thanks for sharing. I see a couple other hands. Jimmy and Jillian, we will come to you between presentations. So we'll turn over to Christina and Nicole and let them share their bit, and then we will have Jimmy and Jillian introduce themselves in between the two presentations. So Christina and Nicole.
Yeah, sure. Let me go ahead and share. I don't know why I show all windows. Maybe that'll help. I've got too many windows up, you guys. All right, here we go. We got it. All right. Let's go into slideshow. Okay. All right, guys. We are glad to be here today. My name is Christina Gorga. I am one half of #datafam.com. It is our new community challenge that we started up this year. And we're really excited to start talking with other parts of the Tableau community about this, giving you guys a little bit more synopsis of what this actually is, what this means for you, and how you can get involved. So that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and start and introduce ourselves. And how we kind of came to be. So a short time ago, not so distant galaxy, really close to us, Nicole, I had known through a couple of different facets of the Tableau community, various corners of the Tableau community. We are actually on a group called Moms Who Biz. It's a very informal Slack channel, but it's also a community for a lot of us that are, moms of various ages, different stages of our data careers. And we just wanted to have a place that we felt it was inclusive, and to talk a little bit more about getting support for our various career paths. And so Nicole and I kind of met through that. But, Nicole reached out to me, I think this was like sometime in early January of this year, and said, hey, I saw that you had filled out this form. Bridget Cogley, I don't know if some of you may know her. She's been very involved in the Tableau community and just the database community at large for many, many years. And she set up this nice little Google Doc that Nicole helped her put together to basically say, hey, we want to see if there's a space for others to be doing community challenges, especially for people that maybe want to do more collaborative community challenges. And this is a lot of times talking in the absence of Makeover Monday, as many of you are probably pretty aware that that's kind of gone into dormancy ever since last year. So now you're starting to see a lot of more niche communities, challenges popping up, and this is one of the many that is starting to pop up now. So the reason why is I wanted to say, hey, I wanted to do something that was all about pop culture, and I think that's what I put in my in the form, but more loosely speaking, more about fandoms, geekdoms, anything sci-fi and fantasy. I felt like there wasn't a niche for us in the data viz community just yet, and I wanted a partner to do that with. And who else but Nicole reached out to me via email and said, hey, do you want to do this? And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I want to do this. So, so in all the scheme of crazy things, many crazy things that we've probably done in the last few years, we decided to start this up this year. So myself, as you can see in the lower right-hand corner, I'm a big sci-fi geek. I've grown up with Star Trek TNG in my house, Star Wars, you name it, Doctor Who, pretty much anything that has science fiction by it, I've probably either read, ingested, or at least have a knowledge of. And so I live in the DC area, and way back in 2016, I got to meet the son of the lauded Gene Roddenberry, like the creator of Star Trek. It was at their 50th anniversary party at the Air and Space Museum. And so what you can't see there is me in my original series science officer dress, or what they call it, the scant outfit, which is like this kind of like skirt thing. But it was really cool to meet him in person. And yeah, so I'm like the sci-fi half of this group, and then Nicole is very much on the fantasy side. And if you go to our Medium blog page, you'll see that we have a bunch of stuff about what we like, what stuff we really love reading, and what things you'll probably be seeing something of in the near future. So that's her with her family there. So what we wanted to kind of outline, some general goals for our new challenge, making it, unique to us, but also making it a fun process for us. For the number one goal of any of these kinds of things, when we, kind of make it our way, is we want to make it fun. And what perfect thing to do with pop culture is that we basically have unlimited topics and directions to go. So we're talking pop culture, fandoms, books, graphic novels, you name it. We imagine probably in the near future, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we'll probably be doing some amount of collaborations with certain other community challenges that are already out there, and kind of make a guess, we're probably going to be doing something with Game Night Biz at some point down in the future that's run by Will Sutton and Tina Cavelli. So we're already starting to talk with other groups and other people in the Tableau community, kind of do some joint data challenge collaboration. So again, goal of this is totally to make it fun for ourselves to run, as well as making it fun for other people. The other main goal here is that really want to emphasize that it's going to be very tool agnostic. Now, granted, myself and Nicole here, we're all very much embedded in the Tableau community, and primarily we use that as our main data viz tool. But that being the case, and that being also the case for some other challenges that are out there, we want to make sure that people feel welcome to do anything that they want to viz in, whether it be R, Python, Tableau, Power BI, anything really, Procreate, to do that for this particular challenge. The third thing that we wanted to think about, really from a goal of just logistics and setting things up, was just to making it accessible for people. We're going to be having sort of an open repository on data.world that we're going to be revealing on our Twitter pages and on our blog for people to be able to look at our current and past data sets, and basically so anybody can play around with these for future projects as well. So if people wanted to reuse our data for something completely different than this, by all means. And kind of leading into that too is because we understood how we were actually going to have to find data for this is the biggest challenge of this whole thing. We wanted to be able to learn something for ourselves too, because we understood that a lot of this data is kind of embedded in websites, not necessarily accessible in a clean data set to go. So we're going to be, myself and Nicole are going to be learning a lot about GitHub, a lot about APIs, and also about creating our own data from scratch. So overall, we're going to be working on a lot of different facets of just trying to get that data, but that's actually going to be a lot of fun, is actually the whole like data prep and making data sets. And so Nicole, I'll let you take it away from here.
Yeah, so we launched this in February, and we were going to launch it in January, and then Iron Viz was announced super early, so we pushed it out. And our first one was Witcher data. So when we originally were going to do it in January, because in December, The Witcher season 2 launched on Netflix. So it's running now through the end of March. And as you know, just fandoms in general, you know, The Witcher is the TV series, but it's also a video game and books. So kind of for any of our projects, but starting off with this one, we wanted to kind of find a lot of different kinds of data that we could, so that anybody could participate in whichever part of the fandom that they want. So, I mean, we've got the soundtrack for both seasons, the Spotify API data for both seasons there. We have the Netflix data that they have on the top 10 most viewed shows, since it was up on there. IMDb data, which I finally learned how to clean, which was really fun. And some video game data, and that one was pulling from scratch, finding revenue reports to try to figure out like just how many games were sold and things like that. And then GamesFizz Night had some Witcher's data as well on their end. So we're always looking to like find kind of those niche areas. Oh, and there's book data too. Find these niche areas that anybody can participate and join, because we really wanted it to be inclusive. And that was one of the reasons we decided we were going to provide data instead of going down an Iron Quest route, so that people could join in, even if they weren't, you know, maybe the best data pullers, but they really wanted to participate. So for this month, you can always bring your own data as well, and it'll wrap up March 31st. Although I will say, if you want to be in the blog, I'm not going to write it on March 31st. So there's probably a few days in there if you want to be featured. But at the end of each month, we will be doing a roundup blog, and we can show off some of the great vizzes we've seen and kind of get that going. And we also are going to launch each month on our Medium blog as well, and then link to the data.world site. So each month, we will post data depending on the topic. It could be, and this one I think has like 7 data sources. Maybe there won't be as many for other topics. Some of the bigger ones, there might be more, who knows? So we will post that out, and we will broadcast on Twitter and do a Medium blog blast out. And we just encourage everyone just to grab it and do whatever you want with it. Get busy, you know, like there's been one just about the monsters in Witchers, which was really cool. And I loved that one. And then also looking at the Netflix data. Then we want everyone to share it on the socials, you know, with hashtag DataFamCon, so everyone can see the awesomeness that is coming out. And then on each month's blog, we'll have a submission link as well, so that you can submit your viz there to be included in the roundup post.
Thank you, Nicole. And then leading into that, so the way that we're kind of running this, at least for now, is each one of us, Nicole and myself, will be kind of more or less running a particular month's data. And I have really been wanting to do something kind of on the horror / monster side of things, kind of leading in from the Witcher monsters. And so, as you can kind of tell from the film poster below, we're going to be doing a Guillermo del Toro film celebration for April. Guillermo del Toro is probably one of the best well-known, I guess, contemporaries in like horror, monster design, as well as kind of like, I guess, that sort of genre. I don't even know like what you would, I would say horror and fantasy, contemporary fantasy. So I'm really excited to do this month, especially because I love a lot of his work, and there is a distinctive fandom around Guillermo del Toro. So we're really excited to do this. We're going to be doing this with some movie database data, and you'll be able to look at things like revenue, and then also if there are certain actors and actresses that have appeared multiple times in his films. So you'll be able to look and plot data out like that for this month. So I'm really excited about it. And we're going to be posting the intro sort of guide for that, hopefully sometime next week. So to end this, here are ways that you can get involved. And of course, one of myself, either Nicole or myself, can pop some of these links also into the chat window as well. But you can go ahead and subscribe and follow our blog. We're based on Medium. Again, using DataFamCon is where you're going to find us. If you want to get the data for this month's data. This month is right now on Google Drive, but stay tuned for a data.world site launch. That's going to be next week with the April data. So you'll get the access to all the different links and everything to go on that end. And then last, of course, is if you want to be included in our sort of roundup post, a la like the way that Project Health does it, and also back to Viz Basics, you can add your entry to the tracker. It's going to be on Google Docs, and then tag your Viz on Twitter with DataFamCon hashtag. Also, if you want to, you can also tag myself and Nicole. You can see our Twitter tags down below. Nicole Klassen 12 for Nicole, and I am Styles Themed. So that being said, that concludes our presentation. It was short and sweet, but if you guys have any questions for us, please let us know. We're really excited to get this kind of going and do lots of fun directions with it in the upcoming months and years to come. And also, if you want to get more involved too, if you also want to, maybe collaborate with us, we're going to be kind of figuring our way through the next couple months, but we're hoping to maybe expand to a couple of other members to help lead month's data too. So that's always a possibility. But thank you for having us on today, Twin Cities Tug. We really appreciate it, and we're happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Do we have any questions for Nicole?
My 3-year-old is obsessed with Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
Obsessed.
I mean, it might be stretching the definition of sci-fi a little bit, but I've done extensive analysis on that show.
Might be touching. Do you guys have plans to share like the stuff you're learning about data collection? Like,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one of the reasons why we have the blog set up the way that we do is so we can kind of document more or less like our experiences of working with some of these data sets as well, and some of the APIs, somewhat similarly to the way that I think this is Sean Miller for the music Viz challenge that he's doing. He's doing a lot more how-tos, I think, in some of his posts. I think what we're going to be trying to talk about more or less is maybe some of our trial and errors with working with some of these different things, especially because I am probably, out of the two of us, I am the most rusty on things like APIs and dealing with GitHub. I've actually been sort of making my way through a lot of stuff on GitHub lately, just trying to understand some of the basic concepts and how to use some of the features in there. So I think for both of us, it's going to be a learning experience, but that was kind of the goal of it anyways. We wanted it to be as much of a fun learning experience for us as it would be for other people too. But all in all, it's just mostly just an outlet for us to have fun. And
yeah,
I think that a lot of times we don't, I think in the data viz community, and this is just something I picked up on, is, sometimes we get like overly serious, I think, with the nature of a lot of the stuff that we do. But I think that there's also a chance for us to have an outlet for fun things too. And so this is one of the ways that we kind of want to have that sort of outlet for people.
And we're like for The Witcher this month, we included a Word document that has all of the sources and everywhere you can find it, so that, for example, like the IMDb, you could pull it and then run for anything that you wanted to do if you didn't want to do Witcher. So we're always going to have our sources out there. And if we do get a GitHub going, I need to get a GitHub going, then we'll start throwing out some of the code out there as well, because I use R. So that's something that people can grab.
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. Like that ability to go and source your own data, I think, is becoming so important for all of us in this community of visualizing data. Like, you have to be able to go find it, create it,
Yeah.
work with it so that it's ready for consumption in a tool like Tableau. It's sort of just becoming part of the job. So
Yeah, I definitely saw that a lot with Iron Viz too. On that note, like, I think a lot of people were talking and journaling about what it took for them to get and grab certain data sources. And Nicole, you even, like, not talking about Iron Viz specifically, but you also wrote about, sort of your process for researching and getting data. And that's like nearly, I think for a lot of us, we don't really, we really underestimate what that time is going to be like for getting data. So we want to make this as easy for people as possible to join in, but also realizing full well that for the kind of topics that we're really going for, a lot of clean data sets don't really exist out there. Now you can go onto data.world, luckily, which is actually where we're going to be setting up like a repository site. There are quite a few things that you can look up there, like if you wanted to search for like a data set on there, and also on Kaggle, as well as I am finding certain things in certain veins of the stuff that we want to do on there, but like largely when it comes to things like films, video games, that kind of data, it's really hit or miss. So that's hence the reason why this is going to be a learning process, probably a lot for me, maybe compared to Nicole. Nicole can comment up, but this is going to be a good stretch learning experience for me as well. So
And that's one of the reasons that it was really important for me to make sure that all of my sources and stuff were out there, and to write like that blog post on storytelling, because I had a couple people just comment like, wow, you must be such a fast visitor. Like, how do you do this? And I'm like, no, actually, it takes like 40 hours to do all this research. And this is how you can do it too, if you want to go on that end, because like building the charts is one thing, but finding the data is another. And that's the challenge.
And I can actually pop in, Nicole, the post that you're talking about for others to sort of get an understanding of that too, into the chat.
Thank you.
No problem.
Awesome. Any other questions for Christina and Nicole? That was awesome. I'm excited to see the vizzes and see what you guys kind of come up with for topics as the year goes on. So thank you for
And we
sharing.
hope to see you all participate too.
Yes, please do. And FYI, I didn't tell Nicole necessarily about, I think I did. Because I will be at Tableau conference, I will be going around probably with certain amounts of small pieces of Data FamCon swag. So if you want to hook up with me at conference, let me know. I will have pins. I may have laptop stickers in my bag, swag. So reach out to me. You'll have a bunch of stuff coming your way. Live long and prosper.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to drop, but I'm so glad that we got to talk today. Take care.
All
Bye-bye.
right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Alvin, I see you have your hand up. Do you have a question, or were you waiting to introduce yourself to the group?
Well, just an introduction.
All right, go ahead. Let's do it. We can squeeze in a few before we
Okay,
switch.
so Alvin Porto. I've been in Minnesota I've been working with data for the last 17 years. I got a master's of science in data science. I work for SourceScript. I actually use Tableau, Power BI, Domo, MicroStrategy audit reporting tool. I stopped using Tableau in the last 2 or 3 years, so I joined a user group to refresh myself, and I will be going to the Tableau conference in Vegas.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for sharing and introducing yourself. Jimmy and Jillian, we had you on hold from the last time. So let's go to Jimmy first, and then Jillian, how about you next?
Yes, hello, hi. My name is Jimmy. I work at Comcast. I am starting to tinker around with Tableau. In fact, a lot of people in our department use it, but I've been using a lot of Excel-based reports, and now I've joined a new department who likes to automate everything in a Tableau. So I'm trying to teach myself how Tableau works and replicate all the Excel stuff into Tableau. And I guess I'll find some benefits as it can just connect to the data and just publish automatically. So I guess my challenges right now is trying to figure out how to calculate the fields to work the way I need it to work, and do the, have the presentations and the dashboards all set up appropriately, because I'm really good at making Excel charts. It's just trying to translate all that into Tableau is where I'm just living every day trying to Google pieces together. So hopefully I can learn some stuff from you guys.
Awesome. Are you based here in the Twin Cities?
I am. I'm based out the Twin Cities, and I think right across the street from downtown St. Paul, in that Robbie Streets. Yeah. So I support the West Division sales operation on the commercial business side. So a lot of the numbers I'm looking at is sales units, sales revenue. So a lot of sales type numbers, and periodically, I guess I will look at subscriber information and service delivery information.
Sure. Excellent. Well, welcome. I think we all have had that part of our journey where we pivoted from Excel into a tool like Tableau or Power BI or both or whatever. So share your favorite resources with Jimmy and help him along on his journey there.
I was gonna give a pro tip for Jimmy. Don't don't try to recreate what you built in Excel and Tableau. Just don't do it. Like, make it better.
Yes. Let Tableau do the Tableau things, right?
Yeah. Recreate, like trying to get Tableau to do what Excel does could be one of the most frustrating things. So don't bang your head against the wall. Do something better.
All right. Jillian, how about you?
Yeah, hi, my name's Jillian. I'm an analyst with the Department of Human Services, and my team, we mostly work with child welfare data. I sort of specialize in child welfare workforce. So I do a lot of work with surveys and workforce data, and partner with the Training Academy to I put out a training evaluation dashboard for them that they use in Tableau. I've been working with Tableau for about 5 years. Actually attended the conference in 2019, and that was fantastic. Yeah, and I sort of mostly enjoy some of the most boring stuff, I would say, working on standards for my team and templating and things like that in Tableau.
All right. I love it. Standards and style guides are like underrated, useful things, right? People, that's really important. So I'm glad to hear that somebody likes creating them. I don't like creating them, so we need people in the world who do. So, all right. With that, we can hand over to Josh and Paula. Serena, I don't know if you're introing this or you're a part of it. Or...
Paula's gonna go first.
I will intro this. Let me know when you see this.
We can see it.
Okay, so my name is Paula Lindgren. I'm a biostatistician at the health department. I also happen to be one of the Tableau server admins, which is sort of a side gig that I have. I want to talk about a collaboration that the Department of Health did with Moxie Analytics, which is Serena's company, and Josh Wilson is consultant that works with it. So I'm going to talk about that. But before I start, we're asked to present and read this land acknowledgement statement in any internal and external, I should be doing it as a slideshow, at any presentations that we do. So I will read this. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We are standing on the ancestral lands of the Dakota people. We want to acknowledge the Dakota, the Ojibwe, the Ho-Chunk, and the other nations of people who also called this place home. We pay respects to their elders, past and present. Please take a moment to consider the treaties made by the tribal nations that entitled non-native people to live and work on traditional native lands. Consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. Please join us in uncovering such truths at all public events. So going forward, I'm going to give a quick background sort of as to what we have, what the project is and what it looks like now. And then I'm going to hand it over to Serena and Josh to talk about the fun stuff that they did in Tableau Prep and Tableau Desktop, the interactivity, the accessibility, and all the work that they did with their side of the project. So Minnesota is part of a national environmental public health tracking program. With this program, they serve to look at hazards, exposures, and socioeconomic factors that influence health. And there are many, many indicators, these nationally consistent data measures, indicators of health that are developed by this program. And states build data access portals to make this data accessible to the public within their states and looking at environmental issues, trends, geographic trends, and disparities. So I will quickly jump to what the current website looks like. So this is the Minnesota Data Access Portal. And there's a lot of categories of indicators that you can see over here on the left. Here are all the topic areas within those categories. Lots and lots of health outcomes. And within each one of these health outcomes, they're sort of set up in the same template manner. Each one has, like, this is the cancer setup. It has 20 different cancers, and within each cancer, there are charts and tables within each one that shows all the indicators. There's data queries where people can select a county that they want and one of the indicators and a time period and download the data associated with their county with each of the indicators. And a lot of the health indicators and environmental indicators have maps associated with them, county level maps that can also give some spatial information about the data. So the data portal is hosted in LifeRay, which is a content management system, which is very JavaScript heavy in the background, as well as the maps are created in Bootleaf, which is also sort of driven by JavaScript in the background. So each one of these categories, each one of these indicators you can look up the county level, do a query to see the county level indicators within each one of those indicators. But there was also added this new feature, which are county profiles. So people from any county, we have public health leaders, tribal leaders, local public health that might want to look at their specific county. And let's just pick a county here. And within that county, they can download every single indicator within their county. And at the bottom, they can get the data associated with their county. So this is the project that the public health tracking people contracted out with Serena to migrate from this interface, which takes a lot of IT resources and time to update. And this is the first project that they wanted to migrate into Tableau. So contracted out with Moxie Analytics. Let's see. And quick timeline about Tableau at the health department. So it was approved, the software, Tableau was approved in 2017. There was just a handful of us, like maybe 20, 25 people that had the software, and we had our little tiny Tableau user group meetings. Then the health department bought a Tableau server. So we have an internal and an external server that was built in August of 2019. And then the end of December, the first public facing dashboard was embedded in a website. I was lucky enough to have the second one in early March of 2020, and it was even on the health department's main webpage. But then kind of everything hit the fan in March of 2020, and we've had an explosion of Tableau at the health department because of the COVID response. We have now we have about 200 people with creator licenses. We have every manager and supervisor within the health department was given a license. So 600 viewer licenses, and then we have like 30 explorer licenses. I mean, at one point we had 60%, about 1,000 people in the health department that were reassigned or redeployed to work on the COVID response. So Tableau has really exploded with dozens and dozens and dozens of internal dashboards of COVID data, staffing data at the health department. And within that, we've had Tableau for a while. And in February of 2021, we saw the need to have not just an external for public facing dashboards, but a way of sharing COVID data or any data at the health department with people outside of the health department. So we have this trusted partner site, which has they log in with their email, and they have a special that they're only allowed to see certain parts of the trusted partner site. And that's how this project was able to be done with Serena and Josh, is because all the data is hosted inside the firewall in Oracle, and I could access the data and get it for Josh and Serena to work on through the trusted partner site. So I think that's all. I'm going to turn it over to Josh and Serena to.
All right.
Do the fun stuff.
Well, thanks, Paula. So side note, Paula painted all those things in her background. And she just picked this up like, I don't know, like a few months ago. And she's already like some sort of savant.
YouTube tutorials. Anyway.
Anyway, so
Am I up or?
yeah, what's cool about this is, you don't often get projects that you can, show the interworkings and the results. It's usually private company data, and you've got to jump through all kinds of hoops to be able to share the details. But since this is intended to be a public facing dashboard, right away I was like, we're gonna do a presentation on this. And so I made Paula do this, even though she didn't really want to, but she did fabulous. So thanks for agreeing to do this, Paula, and for partnering with us on this project. And I know she's not on video, but Lynn Treadwell, I gotta give a shout out to her. She was one of our primary stakeholders in this project as well, and provided some great guidance and partnership on this project. So thank you both. All right, so let me just talk a little bit about, once we understood what the goal of what this project was, we spent a little bit of time trying to understand what is the current state of the data, where does it come from, just how much transformation are we going to need to do in order to get it ready to be visualized, as well as like, what is this going to look like, right? So we sort of understood the main goals in terms of the, what it should do for people who are looking for this kind of data. So we had kind of some use cases, a couple of different user personas, and one of the first things that we did after we kind of collected all that information was I sketched this out by hand, and I can just really quickly show you guys a video of that while I talk a little bit more about it. And I did post this on LinkedIn with a little bit of like, here are the 7 steps to hand drawing your dashboard mockups. But I really like doing it this way because it's easier in terms of like, oh, if you do something that you don't like, you can just erase it and start over, or crumple it all up and start over completely from scratch. And I think it's just it's quicker, and there isn't this like right away there's this sense of like, it's okay that this isn't perfect because it's hand drawn. So I think there is like a greater margin for error and just a higher appetite for it not looking perfect or being mocked up in Visio or even PowerPoint or some sort of a wireframe in Tableau even. So we went through a process that was very similar to that. And then let me get out of here. And what we ended up with was a mock-up that looked like this. And this was actually a version 2. So this was our inspiration, right? We shared it out with Lynn and Paula and the other stakeholders on this project. So everyone knew that we had this direction and it was going to check the boxes that we needed it to check. So this was our roadmap for what we were going to do before we ever started doing any kind of development. This also drove the data requirements. So it really helped us understand, what shape the data needed to be in order to produce these kinds of visualizations. So, which kind of brings us to the bigger bulk of this project, which I'm going to turn it over to Josh, is what we had to do in Tableau Prep to make this happen. So, Josh, you want to throw that up on the screen so we can see the beautiful workflow, the beautiful crazy workflow.
Yep.
So this is our workflow. One of the challenges that we had is that the data is sitting on the state's servers, which Serena and I didn't have access to, and so Paula put up the that data onto that trusted portal and the Tableau server, so that Serena and I could get access to it. And all of those indicators that Paula had showed were coming from a variety of different tables, which are individual source nodes in our flow here. If I zoom out to see the whole thing, there are, I think, 30 total source nodes, and 27 of those are coming from the server. So you can see it's quite a flow we have. And another challenge that we had is each of those tables that was coming from the server it wasn't necessarily like we could say, okay, this is an indicator or this is an indicator category. It was kind of a mix. And we knew we wanted to get to the higher level indicator categories of air quality, birth outcomes, cancer incidence, et cetera. And in order to get there, we, in some cases it was just a straight sort of one-to-one, like birth outcomes. I think there are 3 indicators in here, but they were all in the same table, and so it just kind of came straight through, really easy. And then in other cases, you can see these hospitalizations. There were 6 different tables. Each indicator had its own table, and we had to do this sort of pre-union here in order to get to the indicator category level that would be able to combine with all the other categories into our larger union here. And there were some individual, there might have been some little differences between each source that we had to do some calculations and things. So that's what you see over here on the left. Once we got to our union here, we had all of the different indicator categories combined. From there, there's some cleanup and some other things. And we also brought in some additional information around the indicators themselves that we had in a separate file. And you might recognize some of these that what Paula had showed earlier around the if there were notes or units of measure with the individual indicators. And then for the indicator category, description of the category, and then some additional, what's being done about this particular, what's being done about air quality, how can you mitigate your personal risk? You'll see that come into the dashboard when we show that, as well as a primary indicator, which you'll see essentially serves as a default. So when you pick a particular category, what's the first indicator that you should see? So that data was brought in over here as well. A couple of steps to make county names proper case and some things like that. One thing that we did that was interesting. So we had the individual county values for each of the indicators, as well as a state value. The state value, in some cases, it had its own category or its own
County
field in the data source, and in other cases it was actually coming in with the counties, and so we need a calculation to combine that. So we did a level of detail calculation fixed. If the county was Minnesota, we know that there's no Minnesota county. If the county is Minnesota, then we know that means state. Essentially what was happening here. So if the county is Minnesota, then we know that that's our state value, our Minnesota value. Otherwise, we're going to take the actual field that was state value. So that's how we came up with those state values. Anything else interesting about this, Serena, you want to talk about, or should we move on to the dashboard?
I think that covers the bulk of it. I mean, the main message is that, we had a whole bunch of different source source nodes that were very different from each other, and we had to do all kinds of normalizations to get it to this nice, clean, pristine output to visualize.
Mhm.
Does anybody in the audience have any specific questions before we actually show you what this looks like? Trying to keep an eye on the chat. All right, let's show them what it looks like, Josh.
All right. Here it is on the portal. So this is the staging. I believe that the actual website will look similar to this. So this text at the top is outside of our Tableau dashboard. It was easier to do it that way, just to kind of describe what we're looking at. And then the dashboard is here. So on the left-hand side here, we can pick a category that we want to look at. And we'll have our description is shown at the top. And then you can pick a county, which is it's defaulted to Hennepin. You can pick any county. And that will be reflected in the individual indicators below. So if we're on cancer incidence, these are the indicators for cancer incidence. If we wanted to go to something else, go to birth outcomes, then we have 3 indicators here. And so this is the interactivity is you can pick a different category, start there, get the description at the top, and then drill down into individual indicators over here. And you can do that by either clicking on an indicator. If you want to look at infant mortality or low birth weight, and then that will be reflected on the right in our map, as well as we have a bar chart down here below of all of the counties. And you can see the state level in our Gantt bar here. This is for each indicator. We can pick a different, if you want to look at a different indicator, then that's what's going to be reflected. Then at the bottom, this is where some of that additional text comes in around, okay, what's the state of Minnesota doing about birth outcomes in this case? And then what can you, as someone coming in here and working with this data, what can you do? What can we all do? And then also a link down here to learn more about this particular category that pulls up additional information. I'll pull up the actual, in Tableau, the dashboard, a couple of things that kind of, behind the scenes making this work. So the way that we got that, so for example, the primary indicator, that was that field over here, there's one primary indicator for each indicator category among its, 2 to 10 or so indicators. So if we let's say we picked air quality, then if we didn't have that primary indicator, I think it probably would just default to the first indicator in this list over here. But because we have that primary indicator, we're able to say, okay, just pick that one every time. And of course, you can choose a different one to look at, but that one will be the primary or the default indicator. So for that, we did a filter action to say, okay, in the category selector, which is this guy on the left over here, take the source field of the primary indicator, and then the target is just the indicator for all of these that were checked here, and that's going to apply to it's going to apply to here to our map. It's going to our bar chart and all these down here. So that's how that works. So we just needed to pull in that primary indicator on our on our category selector, and then tie it to the indicator on all of those that we wanted to have affected every time we click on a particular category. Any questions about that, or anything that you guys want to see that you're curious about as far as how this is working?
There was a question about whether the data source was live data or not. It is live data, and the question was, what if the underlying data changes, and have we encountered any issues with the data not matching any rules that we have set up in the Tableau prep workflow? That hasn't happened yet. The data really only changes about once a year, but each of those indicator categories are on a different schedule. So each indicator category data might only update once a year, but since there are 26 of them, it may be something that needs to get looked at a little bit more frequently than that. But the idea is that this is going to be a super low maintenance thing, that the data changes in the source, it flows through the workflows and right into the dashboard on that web page.
So I saw you using a lot of Excel when you were showing the example of the indicators. Is the data source coming from Excel, or they come from multiple different data sources?
Most of it is actually from the state's Oracle database.
Okay.
And then there's some of that like ancillary data, like the descriptions around the categories, that kind of thing that we did pull in using Excel. It's really just those couple of source nodes there that Josh is highlighting. Those are the Excel files.
Okay.
But all of the source nodes on the far left-hand side are all they're essentially coming from the.
Okay, so you are using Tableau Prep to do your cleaning of your data and to make it better, right?
Absolutely.
So what I see with Tableau Prep, the example, the dashboard and stuff you just created, if you want to do an enhancement by using the Tableau Prep, do you have to recreate a new one, or you can do an enhancement to the existing dashboard directly from Tableau Prep?
Let me make sure I understand your question. So
the last time I touched Tableau Prep was the beginning around 2019. I knew that you could do it to clean data and create and export that data into Tableau itself and create a dashboard of Tableau. But if you have an existing dashboard that sit in Tableau and you're using Tableau Prep, right? Can you move that existing data enhancement? Let's say if you have new feed of data that came in, but you have to create 5 or 6 different new columns or 5 or 6 different new data sets. Can you merge that into the existing dashboard from Tableau Prep?
So short answer is yes.
Okay.
So what's happening here, and what is, I would say, probably a best practice, is that you've got your Tableau Prep workflow, the output node all the way to the right hand side of this workflow is a hyperfile, right? And so that's getting published out to the Tableau server, and then the dashboard is connecting to that published data source. So whenever the underlying data changes, or we're making enhancements to the workflow, as long as we overwrite that published data source that the dashboard is connected to, that will flow right through to the dashboard. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so if you have an existing dashboard, you create about 5 or 6 different columns. If you're using the same data source, you should be able to update that dashboard, that data source.
Yeah, you're just overwriting. Yep, whatever enhancements. Exactly.
Okay, thank you. And can you automate Tableau Prep now to set up ETL jobs to run on a daily basis or weekly basis?
You can. Yep, you can. You have to have what's called the data management add-on. And so it essentially just costs extra money.
Yeah, we don't have that at the health department, believe it or not. Okay. But one of the advantages you can see with Tableau Prep is if new indicators are developed, then it can just be brought into Tableau Prep as another data node. And so that's a really big advantage of doing this within Tableau versus JavaScript. And
and even
it's just that most companies don't trust the automated tool, because there's a discussion in my organization right now. Some folks are using Tableau Prep and data management want to get out of it. They're saying it's not an ETL tool because it's not reliable for automation. So yeah, there's a discussion around that right now.
I've seen lots of companies do this, and schedule their workflows to refresh, every hour, or every 4 hours, or every morning at 7 o'clock, or whatever that may be. And they use that to run their businesses. So it's fairly reliable, and it is, I know you said you hadn't touched it in a few years. So there have been some pretty major enhancements to the tool since then. So I would give it another look.
Okay.
Okay, so Josh, let's talk about, we could go back to the dashboard. I know there was 2 more things that we wanted to touch on. So obviously we're not going to like go through, all the calculated fields that we created and, all the cleanup steps and the data prep and all that stuff. We just kind of wanted to touch on the biggest hurdles that we had to overcome. And the 2 left that we haven't talked about yet are what we needed to do to get this to be mobile friendly and accessible. And first and foremost, so as an example here, so Tableau Desktop has you can just create a mobile version, right? With the click of a button, and it'll just create a mobile version of your dashboard, and it's going to be glorious. And while that may work sometimes, I won't even like venture to say what percentage of the time that works well and when it doesn't. But in this instance, it really didn't work for us because there are some things that we couldn't adjust. Like for example, the size of the font in these titles, right? So on the mobile or on the desktop version, it looked great. And in the mobile version, like if we were talking about like this table view that we're seeing where we've got the indicators listed, we needed that to be condensed. Sometimes we needed to have elements in the mobile dashboard that didn't even exist in the desktop version. And one of the tricks that we found, actually, this was I got this idea from Robert Crocker. That's how you say his name. What we did was we created separate versions of these. So you'll see on the left-hand side that there's like a table that was specifically built for the mobile view. Yeah, so all of those, like, parentheses, all of the ones that are in parentheses in mobile. What we did was I created a container on the desktop version, and then I took and dragged all my mobile specific worksheets into that container, and I don't even think you can find it. There it is. And then I shrunk it down and put it at the bottom, so it was essentially invisible. And then when we flipped over to the mobile side of things, I had all these elements that I could include in the mobile version that was not at least visible on the desktop version. So Josh, if you want to, jump over to the server there, and then we can just kind of give a little bit of a preview of what that looks like on the mobile version. So this allowed us to deviate in terms of greater than otherwise we otherwise would have between what the desktop version looks like and what this mobile version looks like. So may not be the perfect solution. If anybody has any better ideas that they have come across, I'm all ears. But this seemed to work well for us. Let me just check the chat and make sure I'm not missing anything. There was one question about Tableau Public. Amanda, no, we didn't publish this to Tableau Public because the state does have, they're licensed for embedded analytics. So access without a login. So that's what we'll be leveraging. Okay, so the last thing is the accessibility piece of it. And this was, I will be honest, that was a pain in the A. And mostly because we started developing this dashboard on the very last version of Tableau Desktop, where the order in which you put your elements onto the dashboard mattered in terms of, so like if you open up, if you go to any Tableau dashboard on in a browser and use your tab key or any kind of screen reader, there's an order in which things show up. And if you don't get that order right, imagine being someone who's vision impaired and you start using your screen reader and it takes you to first the middle of the page, and then somewhere at the bottom of the page, and then somewhere at the top of the page, and then way over to the left and way over to the right. It's super confusing. So when we started building this dashboard, we were on the last version of Tableau Desktop where that mattered. The newest version will set that order, that focus order, to go from top left to bottom right, as you would expect it to. But because we were so lucky to not be grandfathered into that latest version, we actually had to edit the XML file. So you just take the Tableau file, and then you change the file extension to be XML, and then you can actually just look at the code that's producing your Tableau desktop file. And we had to change the order, and that was just I won't go too further into it, but it was a huge pain in the butt. But we got it, and we were ready to move on to the next thing. The other accessibility piece here is, or I'll call it a hack because I truly feel like it's a hack, is what we found is that the particular screen readers that I was using to test this, as well as the state's accessibility experts were using to test and review this dashboard and make sure that it met accessibility requirements, it would not read even so what we're seeing here is the description where it says air pollution can cause harmful respiratory blah blah blah. On the dashboard it's just text, right? And you would think the screen reader should be able to read that. And what we found is that it would not read that unless we embedded that text into the title of the worksheet. So wherever we see these so Josh can give us an example here. So that category description is actually the title of the worksheet, and then the worksheet is essentially blank. So I discovered that when we did it this way, the screen readers would read the text perfectly, but it wouldn't read it at all. It would just skip over it if we had it actually be in the worksheet. So I know that accessibility is something that's getting more and more focused on. I know it's becoming a higher priority for Tableau as they make feature enhancements. So if you are being challenged with making your dashboards more accessible, that's just one little hack that we'll leave you with. We did reach out to Tableau, particularly about the focus order piece of it, and we didn't get an acceptable response from them. We didn't specifically ask them about why it wouldn't read in the worksheet, but I have talked to a couple other people who accessibility is kind of their thing and really important to them, and they have dealt with similar struggles. But again, if you guys have better ideas, I'm all ears. Okay, I think, Josh, Paula, was there anything else that we wanted to touch on?
No, not for me.
Nope, it's a great project to work together. Just one quick thing is that all the indicators as currently, there's just a handful of indicators that have maps because the IT time to create maps in Bootleaf is pretty extensive. Every single one of these indicators now has a county level map associated with it, which is, people just love that. They love maps. They like to see where they are and how they rate, how they fit in with the rest of the Minnesota lot. So it's just amazing that we have that now.
Yeah, it was a super fun project to work on. So thank you guys again. And thank you for letting me voluntold you to do this, Paula. It looks like Amanda had a question about the embedded analytics licensing to make a dashboard interactive. So it's really just a difference between like named user licensing and concurrent user or CPU licensing. So yeah, it's completely a licensing issue. And if that's something that your organization is interested in, reach out to your Tableau rep and they will let you know how much money that will cost you. Okay.
So
Well,
you
if
did
there
actually use it.
Go
It's like a different licensing. It's not like a guest user account. I've seen clients, I think, have done something like that where it's just forcing a guest user login. So this is different than that. That sounds
Yeah.
like.
This is different where it's public. You won't need to log in, right?
Okay.
You'll go to the web page and that dashboard is served up to you and you can interact with it as Josh was displaying without ever being prompted to log in. So it doesn't care who you are. It just cares how many people are accessing that dashboard at any given time, concurrent usage. Any other questions we can answer?
We didn't mention, there's also a download.
Oh, yep.
I don't know if this is gonna work. For some reason, it wasn't letting me go in before.
Yeah, that's the caching issue because since we have logins to the trusted partner site, it wants us to log in even though it should be public facing. And FYI, guys, this is still in on the test page. It's not quite live yet. I might have a version of it, Josh. Hold on.
I mean, this is what it looks like. What you should see when you click on this, data download. And this is for anyone who who just wants the data, basically, which a lot of people who are going to be using this dashboard will want. They want a way to export their data, and so we give that to them right there at the top, and they can filter it however they want, and then click the download data button, and then just they'll get an Excel export based on exactly what they're looking at on the screen.
All right. Okay, if I missed a question in the chat, I apologize, because I'm absolutely terrible at presenting and monitoring the chat at the same time. I'm not a great multitasker in that way.
I think you got them all. Just kind of scrolling through. I think they were either all answered in the chat or by you, Serena.
Okay. Perfect.
Serena and Josh, I'm sorry if you just said this and I missed it, and you can, call me out as not paying attention closely enough. The download data button, is that a function in the version of Tableau that you're on? I think I remember it being an enhancement, and we're way behind on our upgrades. So I just want to make sure I didn't miss something else that could make my life easier.
Yep, it is. It's an out of the box. That's the out of the box feature. I don't know which version that was introduced off the top of my head, but I want to say it's been there for probably about maybe a year to a year and a half.
And that's why I don't have it.
Okay. Yeah, it's super handy. I mean, not that we want to, encourage people to just get data dumps from their Tableau reports, but we all know that people, end users just love it.
Well, in the reports that we do, I mean, that's part of why we do them, is so that they can export that data at that aggregated level. So I'm very excited about that button, and one day I'm going to have it.
You will have it, Anne.
One day.
All right, cool. Well, we've got 13 minutes left. So, Jim, do you want to open it up to best thing I learned, group therapy, or should we give people back some time?
Either way, what do you guys think? Do we have anything people want to best thing I learned or group therapy? I have one quick thing I can share, and then other than that, we can give you time back if you prefer. I will go back to my screen. One of the things this kind of ties back to what we were just seeing. One of the things that I like when I see really well done visualizations is when the tool kind of goes to the background. And I think what we just saw from Serena and Josh and Paula is you couldn't really tell that was Tableau. It just sort of faded into the background of the website, and it just felt like part of the website. So this is a dashboard that I saw in my Twitter feed by Autumn Batani as part of the Real World Fake Data initiative that that comes out periodically in the Tableau community. I think it's run by Mark Bradbourne. And it was just like, it was one of those things where I saw it and I stopped. It's like, well, that can't be a Tableau dashboard. And, you know, here it is on Tableau Public. And it's just like, I thought it was really well designed, well conceived of to give a lot of kind of usability, functionality without ever really looking like it's a Tableau dashboard. So in something I saw that sort of inspired me to think about how I lay things out, how I design and approach my user experience. I also really appreciate there's almost no color, right? And which isn't always an easy thing to pull off. And so this was just a thing I saw and I was like, wow, that's really, really thoughtfully and well designed. There's a lot on the page without feeling busy, which is a difficult balance to strike. So that's my share of something that I learned or saw that inspired me. And I'll put the link to it if y'all want to go get it, favorite it on Tableau Public.
Yeah, that's cool. Jim, there's one question about hiding the bottom ribbon when you are publishing something from Tableau Public in particular.
This ribbon?
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that is. Thanks.
Okay. So I'll answer that, and maybe someone can answer it. I don't know that you can get rid of that on Tableau Public, but like in your company's Tableau server environment, there should be some sort of parameter control to turn that off.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, we don't have Tableau server, so just wondering if there's a way I can make it look more professional without actually paying the money.
Does anybody
Thanks.
else know if those same parameters are applicable in Tableau Public? I just kind of feel like it's one of those things where, like, since it's free, they're gonna make you leave their logo there.
I don't know. I think if you do, like, if you have a viz that you embed on a blog or something, you can suppress the toolbar similarly to how you can in
Yeah.
in your server, right? There's like this sort of question mark toolbar equals no thing.
Right. If someone has the link can quick post that link to, there's a whole list of like parameter controls for embedding.
Yeah.
I like, if I do that, I don't know, I'm just terrible at doing that kind of thing at the same time. So if somebody can go grab that link quick and post it in the chat, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'll do it.
But it's so I think that will do it if you are embedding. Embed equals yes, toolbar equals no, something like that. I believe it will work.
Okay, I found it. So you could certainly try it and see if it works in Tableau Public.
Yeah.
But I've never tried it, so.
Yeah, it's something like that. I don't remember the exact syntax, but it's probably in the thing you just shared, Serena.
Yeah, there's like 27 different parameters, so one of them should work. Cool.
All right.
Anybody else have anything cool they learned recently they want to share, or something that they're struggling with that we could all try to crowdsource an answer for?
Serena, I don't think you pasted what you wanted to paste.
Oh, god dang it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How did my copy not work?
Yeah, that don't work because I eat at my desk too often.
You're right. That's the link to register for this. There we go. Try it again.
That worked. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, on the copy and paste topic, I've run into an issue, and I guarantee it's a user error, but I have not been able to figure out what my user error is. Sometimes when I'm copying and pasting into the calculated field editor, all of a sudden I'll be on the data tab and it'll like try to connect to whatever character string I pasted as my data source. And I have to Control Z out. There's no back other than like 2 Control Z's. So if I do something else, I end up like wiping out my worksheet that I'm working in.
Oh my gosh, that sounds crazy.
Okay, so that's not a normal thing. Other people.
No, I get that too, Anthony, and it drives me absolutely crazy. I've just like tried to improve my typing skills so I don't have to
Same
copy and
here.
paste.
I can't figure out my like workflow with my keystrokes. It'll sometimes make it happen.
So is this in Tableau Desktop or Tableau Prep?
Desktop, and as best I can figure, it might be if I'm trying to paste something while it's trying to validate my last edit. So it's like working on the calculated field when I hit paste, but yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
I
Really all I wanted to know is I'm not alone in this. That's all. That's all.
There's at least one other person. I have never experienced that. That sounds crazy and very frustrating.
Pasting text into a calculated field. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
Like if I was copying from, maybe I'm working on my SQL-ish code in like a code editor and I want to paste it over, paste a little snippet over. Somehow, if I do it at the wrong moment or do it in the wrong place, all of a sudden it kicks me over to my data tab and it's tried to replace my data set with whatever I was pasting.
And you're not like pasting like a select statement, right? You're just.
No, I'll be pasting like if else if string.
Is it not recognizing that where your cursor is correctly? So it thinks that you're pasting in a data source instead of trying to paste into where you're typing your calculated field?
I don't think so, because it'll actually jump me over to the data tab from the worksheet and the data field that I'm in. But
Gremlins.
yeah, it's a gremlin. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's a new one.
There was one question up in the chat, Jim.
Yeah.
Scroll. Non-certified data sources in Excel. Work can't use for external production due to security and data sources like Excel. Maybe you could specify what the question is, so you're not allowed to use non-certified data sources like Excel. Is that, and then you're just wondering what you can do about that?
Maybe, yeah. we can't hear you, if you are trying to speak.
Yeah, you are muted if you are trying to speak. I would maybe try to, like, if you could connect your Tableau desktop to that file just like locally, and then publish it to the server, and then ultimately connect the dashboard to the published version. I don't know. I would probably need more detail, some more info to really help you out. Would love to know if we have been able to use Tableau Prep for data suppression. So as it turns out, is it Angelina?
I'm Axelina.
Axelina, okay. I know someone whose name is Angela, and she spells her name with an X, so I didn't want to. Anyway.
Oh no, it's fine. I answered hey you.
Yeah, so we did use Tableau Prep to suppress data, right? You just need to understand what logic does. So what we ended up with was a couple of fields in our data source for this county profiles project, where it was essentially a 0 if it needed to be suppressed or flagged, or a 1 if it needed to be suppressed or flagged, and a 0 if it didn't. And so then we were just able to say exclude whatever 1 values are. So Absolutely, you can do that. You just need to make sure that you understand the logic behind.
Okay,
targeting.
so it can't be something live like where as you like refresh data on a monthly basis for say demographic information, where you can't share counts on protected class data for less than 10, right? That could change from time to time. So you might have to suppress a class 1 month and not suppress the class another month. So the question is that a place where you've seen that work? Because right now I'm doing code for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You would just have some sort of dynamic calculation where, like whatever that value is, that is, above 10 or below 10, and you just write a calculation that says if that value ever gets below 10, then it needs to be suppressed.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm doing that in desktop using lots of calculated fields and steps like that. So I'm trying to figure out some efficiencies potentially.
Yeah, for sure. You can for sure do that in Tableau Prep.
Yeah,
You just
I
have to think about it.
have had that situation on a client where it was like based on what the user selected on the dashboard. It's like if the count got too low, then we had to essentially display a blank dashboard. And it was a hairy nightmare of level of detail kinds of calculations to figure that out and have it, figure out on the fly and suppress the data, the visuals correctly. But if it's a more simplistic process, like if it's a simpler process than that, where it's just like I just can't show it at all on the dashboard, then yeah, you probably could suppress it in desktop. Depends on the use case, or in prep rather. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that the data that I'm working with is probably closer to your first example, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was hard. We struggled with it so much. Like we could get it to work, but it was a big performance drain because it's a bunch of level of detail calculations and it was really, it was tough.
Yeah, this would be school like detailed data about students and things that we want to make sure is very much following statute and those requirements. So it's a lot of work, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I think, Axelina, the deciding factor would be like, if you think about the data, if there is one row or a set of rows that under any circumstance, those are the ones that need to be suppressed, then you can do that in Tableau Prep. If more like what Jim was talking about is that sometimes that row is okay, depending on what filters the user has applied, and sometimes it's not, then that's a Tableau desktop thing.
Yep.
So, all right, we're 1 minute over. Jim, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we're out of time. So thanks everyone for coming. We will see you next month and the Tableau user group. Maybe we'll be hybrid, but the details to come soon. So all right, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks for our presenters, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye.
Thanks, Paula.